When it comes to the question of the Mission Impossible franchise, you can never get disappointed in their movies. I would say that the Mission Impossible franchise might be the most successful franchise in the history of Hollywood. 8 movies in a row, and most of them are blockbuster. I enjoyed every single moment of the movie. Such a complex story, and yet they depicted everything using a straightforward storytelling. Watching this movie is a lot like watching a football match. You never know what happens next. The movie is out in the theater right now, and if you want to get the best experience, you should watch it on the big screen. Now let's break it down in the simplest language possible. The story begins with the US President Erik briefing Ethan Hunt about the self-learning digital parasite named the Entity. She at first thanks Ethan for his service in the IMF and then tells him that this entity is infesting and corrupting every single valuable defense database across the world. It is also building its own cult and recruiting them in the government. Most countries on Earth have declared national emergency, and the only way you can stop the entity is finding out the source code, which is somewhere in Serbia. Ethan is not giving the key to that source code to the government because he doesn't believe in the credibility of those officers. He wants to kill that entity on his own, which will also result in the total destruction of the cyberspace. Now he lives in Austria. He has an underground operating base where he lives with Benji and Luther. Paris is held in detention in Austria and soon will be handed to the CIA. Not gonna lie, I'm in love with her, at least for now. Ethan infiltrates the detention center and rescues the girl. He tells the CIA to stand down or the entity will soon cause a third world war if Ethan is too late. They all eventually choose to cooperate. He goes to the US Embassy, London, tracking Gabriel and gets caught red-handed by the guards. Grace arrives out of nowhere and steals their walkie-talkie and also their handguns. He renders them unconscious, and man, she was still flirting with Ethan in the middle of all of this. She has been sent by the CIA director Kettridge to keep an eye on Ethan. Gabriel's men all of a sudden give them a surprise attack, and there comes the devil himself. Gabriel tells Ethan that back in the past, the infamous rabbit's foot that he recovered was surprisingly not a physical virus. It was actually a compile of malicious codes downloaded from the cyberspace, which at first was uploaded automatically to the internet from the broken submarine Kostov 599. That virus was part of the Russian Podkova system, which was developed to stay hidden from the radar and sonar signals from other submarines. Now everyone calls it the Entity. It was later used by the US government for their own defense system until one day the AI decided to become disobedient. That submarine has got a source code of this AI virus, and it can only be unlocked using the key Ethan possesses. Gabriel wants that source code to control this entity for world domination. If Ethan doesn't obey, he will kill Grace. This is when Ethan shows a fake tooth and claims that it has got cyanide inside. He pretends to bite the tooth and get a full body seizure. They fall for the trap and don't even get the time to regret their decision. Gabriel runs away. Dude breaks their bones as if disguised as some crackers in human skin. Others have come to rescue Ethan. They find out the device Gabriel used for talking to that entity, the Russian Podkova system. The entity tells Ethan a lot of things, but let me summarize everything for you. The entity gives Ethan 2 choices. First, he has to destroy the source code so that no one can challenge the entity ever again. It will then cause a massive genocide across the world, leaving only its obedient followers it has managed to brainwash already. Option number 2, Ethan can try to use the source code to destroy the entity, but humanity will go extinct anyways, because he will launch all the ICBM in every nuclear-based country on Earth, causing the total destruction of human race. Either it's going to be the future of the entity and its obedient followers, or it will be the destruction of the entire world. Dude really knows how to make someone an offer they can't refuse. He tells Benji to prepare a chartered plane to fly to Serbia, and he goes to save Luther. Gabriel was about to kill this man to send a message that the entity will kill all the loved ones of Ethan if he is not being obedient to its commands. Gabriel goes to Luther's underground base, kills the doctor, steals an important hard drive, gets a nuclear reactor in his room, and locks him up with 4 minutes of countdown. If he fails to disarm it, he is finished with the entire city. When Ethan arrives, Luther tells him that he was already too late, but there is still a possibility of avoiding civilian casualty. He tells Ethan that the reactor has got 9 detonators. If he can manage to eject even one of them, he can blow up the detonator to save the city. The ignition from one detonator will destroy only the underground, but it won't be enough to create a fission process for the nuclear reactor. He can save the city at the cost of his own life and this underground tunnel. tunnel. He says goodbye to Ethan and tells him to stop Gabriel at any cost. Rest in peace, soldier. Ethan manages to get out, but the CIA agents get hold of him with the Podkova key. They take back Ethan to America. This CIA agent is the son of Jim Phelps, who was the main villain of Mission Impossible 1. This man wanted to join the CIA to find out the killer of his father, but now he doesn't want to take any revenge on Ethan because he has found out that his father was wrong about his ideologies. They take Ethan to Virginia CIA black site. He gets to find out that the entity has already hacked the nuclear arsenals of India, Pakistan, and Israel. Only Russia, China, the UK, and America have still got their nukes safe from the entity, but they won't be safe anymore within 72 hours. They have declared DEFCON 3 emergency in the military. The Pentagon officials are now looking over the files of Ethan Hunt from start to end. They get to find out that Ethan once stole the list of the NOC files of foreign agents from their own CIA archives section. He was also responsible for the Kremlin bombing. He drugged director Kittredge in the last movie. Within a few minutes, President Erika arrives in the meeting. She gives Ethan two choices. First, he will be imprisoned for his act of disobedience along with all of his friends in the IMF. Second, he can take the suicide mission of stopping the entity by finding out the source code and giving it to the USA. Ethan then demands to take a $6.5 billion nuclear-powered Navy fleet to get to Serbia to find out the debris of the submarine. No wonder the budget of this movie was $400 million. He also gives the president two choices. First, they become naive and try to control the entity for their own interest, which will fail horribly because the entity has already planned to annihilate the entire world within 72 hours. Second, Ethan destroys the source code and it will kill the entity, which will cause a worldwide cyberspace breakdown, but it will eventually save the humanity. When they are talking, the entity gets full control of the UK nuclear arsenal. President Erika doesn't pay attention to the demands of Ethan and tells her people to lock him up in the CIA black site. But it was all just for the show. She secretly has given Ethan Hunt a blank check to stop this entity by hook or by crook. He lands on the aircraft carrier that was already approved and commissioned for him. The admiral opens the letter from President Erika and finds a secret code which points towards Serbia. Admiral explains everything about that area to Ethan. She tells him that this place is always patrolled by one Russian aircraft carrier 24/7. One wrong move and they're calling for a World War III. They suspect the location to be the Bering Sea, where they're supposed to find out the debris of the submarine. Benji has arranged a decompression chamber for Ethan to prevent hypothermia underwater, which again doesn't have much guarantee of working under Mark 7 water pressure. They take two VTOLs to infiltrate the Russian territory. Other members get to an island near the Bering Sea. Two local residents over there actually work for the CIA. The first is William and the second is his wife. He has been here on this island since 1996. He is a coding legend and he is the one who created the CIA Black Vault. Surprisingly, the man knows about the entity and he also knows what was inside the rabbit's food. Unfortunately, he has been compromised. On the other hand, Ethan wakes up in the USS Ohio submarine. Those guys were generous enough to give him a hot shower. Ethan tells the captain to take him near the Kostov 599 submarine. Grace tries to explain the entire situation to Russian Captain Tovayush Dimitrescu, claiming that the Americans are trying to save the world. They don't want to provoke any war, but who listens to who? The captain explains to Ethan that underwater, he will be facing Mark 7 water pressure, causing a nervous breakdown if he fails to tolerate, and he will be breathing his own carbon dioxide under pressure. William secretly gives the exact location of the submarine they were looking for to Benji. He knows about this thing because he personally investigated this matter back in 1996. He then makes a cunning plan. He gets permission for his wife to go out to calm down the dogs complaining that he can't focus anymore. He secretly gives the coordinates for the Podkova operation. Ethan inside the submarine gets attacked by a man brainwashed by the entity and the fight begins on both sides. They accidentally set the entire house on fire. After 10 minutes of shivering fight, Ethan manages to kill that man and his friends manage to save themselves from the burnout. Ethan is now ready for the decompression dive. He finally lands on the submarine he was looking for. He opens the hatch. His time is running out. He sees the dead corpses inside. They're still looking better than me after living on 5 mugs of coffee and stubbornness. He gets into the torpedo chamber and he finally locates the Podkova systems. He opens the drive vault using the key and secures the hard drive. The hatch gets closed by the tail of a torpedo. After 10 minutes of constant trial and agonizing pain, he manages to open the hatch, but he has to let go of his support system to fit into that tunnel. He finally manages to come out, and when he was almost close to the surface, his nervous system breaks down. He was in the stage of cerebral hypoxia. Fortunately, Grace arrives over there and rescues him. Not gonna lie, she has got a big heart. That auntie is also with them. But hey, this is not the end of the movie. They get into the VTOL to reach the aircraft carrier. And by the way, this man is actually this man from the first Mission Impossible movie. Remember him? He still has kept Ethan's knife out of nostalgia. Now they need the electric chip that was stolen from Luther by Gabriel. That chip contains a virus that can kill the entity. It was made by Luther and Benji. Ethan will capture the entity inside this 360 terabytes of optical data drive when they're done with the disinfection process. Now that's a lot of movies. Ethan has made a crazy plan just as usual. He will let Gabriel have the Podkova hard drive and pretend to be his victim. The man will fall into that trap and install the virus into the drive on his own. This is just another suicide mission. One wrong move and the World War III begins. But everything becomes irrelevant when the god of Scientology enters the equation. He asks Grace a riddle. What makes a difference between a good pickpocketer and a great pickpocketer? Grace gives the answer as timing. Ethan then tells Grace that she has been assigned to pluck out the optical drive at the right time. They go to South Africa where the CIA data center is. The Russian arsenal has already been hacked. The president doesn't have any idea either Ethan is alive or not. They're making a nuclear attack plan. They want to destroy all the nuclear stations of the world to save their country. But you know what? They should have studied about Russia's dead hand system. Amateurs. Anyways, Ethan gets into the African data station. Just like their crazy plan, Gabriel has taken the bait, but the CIA destroys the entire master plan. Gabriel's men attack out of nowhere. He runs away from the data center. Ethan goes to chase down the old man. He crashes the jeep mid-drive because the director told him to run for the last time. Gabriel flies away. Ethan feels hopeless. This is when he sees the plane of Gabriel's assistant and grabs it by the landing stand. William is disarming the nuke. Benji is injured. Ethan knocks the man out and takes control of the plane. The US president is about to nuke 8 countries across the world to save themselves, including even some parts of their own country. And her son also lives in a place that is about to get nuked if an order is given. At the last moment, she decides to abort the mission and tells everyone to request foreign governments to cut their power supply to slow down the entity. This is when another brainwashed soldier tries to kill the US president but gets neutralized by the military chief. He dies, saving the president. America has been compromised. Grace has set up the optical drive to capture Podkova. When the light goes green, she will cut the red wire and pull it out within 100 milliseconds. Dude uses his Scientology hive mind and manages to climb onto the plane of Gabriel. After 10 minutes of sky wrestling, he breaks the hand of this man, takes the virus and kicks him back to Satan. He takes the parachute and goes down. The first parachute burns down, but Ethan still manages to upload the virus into the entity. Grace grabs the optical drive at the right time. Her grabbing skill is pretty good. I guess she can use that grabbing skill somewhere else in her free time. Anyways, the entire world goes through a blackout for a while. The bad boy has finally been contained. The power comes back all over the world. I'm glad to see that dude is still alive, unlike James Bond who died in the last movie. And that is the end of this beautiful story. President finally gets to see her son again after a long time. Oh boy, can you feel the emotions? Anyways, just imagine a bedroom scene of Ethan Hunt and Grace Augustine where the man says, "I can do this all day."